Then I went again.
Well, he said spiritual dimension.
How precious and how important the world is. Became a family.
Everyone else was astonished.
In 1975, Mr. Yaakov Schiffman and his parents had an audience with the Rebbe. His father was very ill at the time.
So he went into the Yechidus, and I stayed in the back. And the Rebbe was looked at the kvittel and was speaking with my father. And the Sechum gewünscht my father, and my father left. And, my mother left and that. And the Rebbe said to me, "You stay," and close the door. I was already very, very nervous. I mean, I knew already something was going on, being the, you might say, the man, the boy. I mean, it was only myself and my sister. And I was, I was already nervous. And the Rebbe said, "Come, let's go," and we're going to, and he takes a Gemara. Takes Gemara Brachas. And he said, and he was rather the only one that said to me, he said, and I can remember these words, he says, "Al pi teva," he's saying in Yiddish, of course, but "Al pi teva, your father is extremely sick, and Al pi teva, it's not going to take too long. David that will helfen, but you're going to be besatzvus, you're going to need something to give you chizik. Your father's going to become very depressed, and you are." And he says this Gemara, which is the Gemara Daf Yud Amud Aleph in Brachas, the Maisa of Chizkiah HaMelech and Yeshaya Navi, where Chizkiah was which the Navi brings down in Malachim Beis that Chizkiah became very, very sick, and Yeshaya came to visit him and told him that you should go and prepare Ma'adet Tzava and everything, prepare yourself because you're going to die. So Chizkiah screamed out and said, "Go. Till here is your nevuah. I don't need to hear you anymore." Because he says, "Shamati mebeis avi, afilu charav chada al tzavari al yina adam," meaning that even if if the tip of the sword is pointed at your throat, you never give up hope. The Eibishter can always help. The Rebbe learned with me this Gemara and said to me in these words, "You're going to use it. It's going to give you chizik. When you get depressed, open up the Gemara and learn it. You'll see the chizik you'll get out of it." So he opened the Gemara and I opened the Gemara. Then he says, "Come," and brought me to the side. And he was pointing, and we were learning, and he was pointing each word, how we were, each word. When I came out, my father looked at me, and first of all, I was sweating. I was at awe. And then we drove home. We drove home, and I was telling him what happened. He broke down and cried, and he says, "You know something? As soon as we got home, we learned the Gemara." And he was asking me questions. He says, "I learned this," he says. He's asking me questions, how to answer. And he says, "Do you understand why the Rebbe told you to learn this with me? Do you understand?" He asked me quite a few times, and I was explaining it. And he says, "That's how I feel now." There's one thing, though, that I'll never forget, and there's not enough to, you may say this, I don't know how to thank the Rebbe, is the fact that he told me the facts of life in those words. Everyone was saying, "No, be good, it'll be good." He sat down and spoke to me as an adult, looked at me and told me how to be prepared for it. You're talking about a 15-and-a-half-year-old, 16-year-old kid with no other and with nobody. My mother an only child, my father Shalom's family was wiped out. I had no one. And he just told me and, prepared me for it. The Rebbe filled the shoes of a father to me in those 25 minutes. And over the years, that advice has kept me going.